And whilst being quite a sleepy town of only 300 people, here, behind me, all around me, there used to be army barracks, specifically in World War II. But that wasn't the end of them. The end of the war wasn't the end of their service. The village tripled, quadrupled, heavily increased in population temporarily because what was here were pretty shabby but livable army barracks, which they turned into temporary, which sort of became slightly permanent accommodation for Polish refugees. Somewhere between 500, possibly up to 1,000 of them moved to what is now these farmers' fields. And it was incredibly basic. They had a dry, slightly warm hut, charcoal lit fire, electricity, which was still in its infancy and being spread across the country, especially in small villages like this. But no running water until a bit later on. However, considering a lot of these refugees, they had come from concentration camps and labour camps as far away as Siberia, and their country was being doubly invaded, with Germany from the west, Russia from the east, and after the war was plunged into communism. They got stuck here a bit, but it was safe. They didn't mind. I mean, I'm sure some of them were distraught about not being able to go back to their homeland, but they were somewhere safe. Luckily, from Britain, they were able to springboard and migrate not only to bigger industrial towns nearby, such as Luton, which is about 20 kilometres that way. Some of them went to North America, which is 5,000 kilometres that way, and built new lives. As for getting here, as we, along with the better European countries at the time, were allied with Poland, and also had a lot of colonies in places near where the Poles, well, near enough, where the Poles were indentured, we were able to, probably not very easily, definitely would have been an incredibly arduous task, but just about safely get access to them, safely take them into former British colonies, particularly in the Middle East and India, and then transport them onto ships. One of them being the Empire Windrush. Weren't just Caribbeans on board finding better work opportunities. There were Polish refugees fleeing indentured servitude on it as well. Only about 70, I think, but they had a much longer trip. Of course, the boat left Britain, went to our colonies in the Middle East and India, and then continued going east towards the Pacific, towards the international date line, across the Pacific, and then eventually through the Panama Canal and to the Caribbean, where they then picked up the Windrush generation, who had a journey that was like 6 months shorter than these Polish refugees. But eventually everyone made it to Britain, and the Poles were safe. And staying here, whilst a lot of their Caribbean fellow passengers were also staying in a former World War II. Well, no, it wasn't an army barracks, it was a bunker. It was that Northern Line parallel tunnel they built just before the war, which then couldn't be used because of the war, and then got used as temporary shelter for not only Londoners during the war, during bomb raids, but for the Windrush generation after the war, because most of the surrounding suburbs have been bombed to fuck.